Welcome to this edition of the Black Belt Newscast. This is the Black Belt News Network. I'm Cindy Fisher, publisher.
I'm Todd Prater, staff writer, reporter. Hey, how you?
This is the September 15th edition, and we have so much going on in the Black Belt right now. Of course, you can see all of our stories every day, during the day, throughout the day, and at night at blackbeltnewsnetwork.com. We'd like to come to you guys once a week on Fridays at 10 a.m. with our Spotlight edition, which is our newscast. So let's get started with our top story for right now. This is about the district attorney, which is in the judicial district of District 4, and some funding that he's looking for in order to help fight crime. Tell us more about it, Todd.
Right. Well, Robert Turner Jr. is, I keep wanting to say Robert Downey Jr. Robert Turner Jr., he's a super nice guy. He is actually working very hard to fight crime in the area. And what he's discovered when he got into office, he discovered that there was a tremendous backlog of cases, and there's also a shortage of staff members. And so he is going to the different county commissions in the judicial district, in which, by the way, the 4th Judicial District is Bibb, Hale, Perry, Wilcox, and Dallas counties. And he is asking each county commission to support or help a little bit with funding 2 different positions. One of them is going to be the case backlog assistant, whose primary job is going to be to enter the data from all the backlog of the cases. The other is hopefully for 2 investigators that can work in the 5-county district, talking to the people that were involved in these cases, updating information on some of these cases that date back as far as 2017, some even further back. So he's working hard to get that funded to help fight crime. He says that the best way the counties could help service their constituents is to fight crime by giving him the tools or helping him get the tools he needs. We've had criminals who have been they haven't been prosecuted for years. They know it. They're getting away with it. He wants to stop that. He said they've had 9 lives like a cat. He wants to put an end to that so that when people come to this judicial district, they know if they commit a crime, they're going to be prosecuted.
And Robert Turner actually came into office only in January. He beat the longtime incumbent Michael Jackson in 2022. So he's new to the job, does say there's a big backlog. So we wish him luck with that. And he's going to be approaching the county commissions to include the money in their budgets, which he has to get on that now because October 1st, these budgets start.
And one of the things he's actually done since he's been there is computerize the case log, because in the past, they were all doing it by hand. They had no computers. So
yes, and that's going to help too, but he needs the staff.
Right.
So
we got to have people to put the information in.
Stay tuned to blackbeltnewsnetwork.com. We will have more about that.
Exactly.
We also have a story out of Demopolis. They have planned to have a healthcare high school. And this would be a residential school for high school age students that would live and work out of Whitfield Regional Hospital, and it actually did not get the funding in the state budget this year as expected. So the state has agreed to spend $500,000 on a study, and there's a feasibility study to determine that Demopolis is the right place to put it. There is a fine arts school that is similar to this in Birmingham. There's a math and science school that's in Mobile, and aeronautics that's in Huntsville. And this would be a great placement, having it in the Black Belt. That would work out really well. It also addresses the shortage of healthcare workers that, ideally they would work here in the Black Belt and perhaps want to stay. And we could definitely use that just like they can all over the rest of the country. So a feasibility study would be the next step, and it's been a real disappointment for the leaders in Demopolis, and they've been rallying behind it, going to Montgomery to talk to their leaders and legislators to get that included. So we will keep you posted at blackbeltnewsnetwork.com as we learn more. You know the history of the place that they're going to renovate.
It has been used for a number of things. Back in the 90s, it was actually a factory that made the jugs that your milk comes in. the half gallon and gallon jugs, and it was always fun to buy milk, when in Birmingham or wherever, and turn it upside down and see it said it made in Demopolis.
Oh, see, that's great. Well,
The
and
other
it
thing, it
may
was
have a
used for,
new life.
yeah, exactly. But in the '90s, when that milk jug factory shut down and moved out, in the early 2000s, it was a factory that produced caps for all the Major League Baseball teams.
See,
So
that's
it's had
great.
a very storied career, and it looks like it's going to move on to something else more useful, and hopefully
We hope so.
very
We will keep you posted at blackbeltnewsnetwork.com. Absolutely.
right.
Here in the Black Belt, economic development is huge. That's healthcare is kind of part of the quality of life, as we were talking about. So there's actually some economic development talks that we want to share with you here in Selma. There is the Alabama League of Municipalities actually had a economic development academy. And the city of Selma was part of that in 2021. They're supposed to be working on a plan for how they want to economically develop the town. However, the tornado kind of stalled the process. Mm-hmm. So the Rotary Club of Selma heard from Neil Wade, who was actually the former director of economic development for the state. And he's a big-time economic development leader who is part of the League of Municipalities and their efforts to get Selma to talk about its plan for economic development. So we'll keep you posted on what they end up coming up with.
And also in the theme of economic development, tourism is a huge tool used in economic development in any area, especially an area like the Black Belt that is so steeped in history, so full of history. And right now, Opportunity Alabama has recently been here in Selma and in Marion, speaking with folks who own historic buildings, historic properties. They have a new series of grants, a new grant program to help to revitalize and restore some of these buildings. They were explaining to the owners how to go about applying, what can and cannot be used, what the grants can and cannot be used for. They have another meeting coming up September 27th at 4:30 at the Edmond Dimensions, and a webinar October 3rd at 10 a.m. But you can get all kind of information at opportunityalabama.com on these grants to help you restore your historic property. Also in Marion, Philip Howard, who's the program manager with the Conservation Fund, held a meeting with the folks from Marion. A lot of folks like education people, the county commission, Main Street Marion, all were at the meeting about new monies that are available to preserve and restore civil rights historic sites to help push the civil rights tourism in Perry, Dallas, and Lowndes counties, because it was such an important part of our history, and a lot of those sites need to be preserved. And the more they're preserved and they're made available to tourists, more tourists will come, and of course that brings tourism dollars into an area.
Economic development, and it's one of the best things we have here besides our rivers, and there's so many great things in the Black Belt that make us an economic development mecca. So hopefully we will see that grow. Thanks for sharing. Our next story, let's talk about healthcare again. Rural Health, which actually has clinics throughout the Black Belt, is looking at building a clinic in Orrville, which is in Dallas County near Wilcox border. And they had some meetings with the town of Orrville recently to see what they're needing, especially while the wait is in place for constructing a clinic. But let's first hear a little bit about this report that I filed about the clinic.
Rural Health Medical Program is opening a new clinic on Main Street in Orrville next to Town Hall. This will be Rural Health's 10th clinic in the Black Belt, and it will serve Orrville and neighboring communities, including Safford, Beatrice, Boyd, and Gee's Bend. Rural Health CEO Cachet Smith says the new clinic has been planned for 4 or 5 years, along with Mayor Lavinia Lumpkin. The future clinic site sits on a lot on the main highway between the post office and Town Hall, which is next to a space that will become the community's new public library.
So that actually ran on TikTok, which we have a TikTok channel, everybody. If you don't see us on TikTok, and as a reel. And so we share that information as we go. So yeah, stay tuned for more information about this clinic as they are thinking about having a mobile clinic parked there for some of the times that they need it, as they lead into seeing what are their biggest needs.
Right.
So it's a great process.
Yeah, it's good to know that we have the healthcare, because that, again, when you have healthcare, and you work on your healthcare, your education, your infrastructure, these things, as they're working on them and making them better, they attract people who want to come live here and work here, and that goes back to your economic development, because the economic development, all of it, it's a process that works together, and we're starting to get it together here in the Black Belt.
And we need more jobs. So
yeah.
Visit us, blackbeltnewsnetwork.com. We are on there every day, all day. We want to do a special shout out, of course, to our sponsors. And that is Randall Miller. Thank you so much, Funeral Home. If you want to be a sponsor, email us at news@blackbeltnewsnetwork.com. And we also want to make sure that you know that you can follow us. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Black Belt News Network. It's a good way to follow us and find us. You can also email us your news. If you've got news, send it to news@blackbeltnewsnetwork.com. We are
Give us those news.
Always looking for writers and photographers, videographers. Share your stories with us. We actually have been getting quite a bit of stories sent to us lately, and story ideas. Put it also in the comments with our newscast. And we also have a podcast pretty much every day. It's the top headlines read to you by our very own Todd Prater, the radio voice audio guru.
I do the radio thing. Hi, I'm Todd.
Yeah, that's it, Todd, with his radio voice. So tune in for next week's edition of the Black Belt Newscast. We'll see you next week.
See you next week. Y'all have a great week.